How's it going, everyone? It's Minecardy, making another Reddit story video today on the craft. We're going to be getting copper and we're going to be getting diorite, I believe, the little white block that was added a couple years ago. I'm planning on a brand new build coming in pretty soon that requires a lot of white block, so just got to grind for that, and as well as some oxidized copper. So that's really what I'm looking for today in the mines. I'm feeling really excited to start building this and start grinding the necessary materials in the craft. So that's what the game's all about. In terms of some feedback I got in my last videos, wanted to say thank you to everyone that gave me some. I did buy a pop filter for the microphone to hopefully get rid of like some of the annoying background noise that you guys might have been hearing. Then I also fixed the recording as well. The first two videos did come out a little bit blurry. I figured out it was some setting in OBS that was recording in 720p for whatever reason on a 2K resolution. So that was probably what messed it up a good bit. That, and then I used a pretty crappy editing software. Besides that, I'm not going to yap too much longer before we get into the Reddit stories. Today we're going to be looking at a subreddit called AITA, which stands for Am I the Asshole? So yeah, looking forward to getting into it. AITA for telling my sister I don't want to be a support to her through her toxic relationship. The women in my family have a history of getting into relationships with men who aren't that great. Not physically abusive, but abusive in many other ways, especially emotionally. My little sister, who I do love a lot, has dated and continues to date at an interval a guy who just completely mistreats her. When he does, she cries to me about it and asks what she should do. I tell her that it's not right, she deserves a more loving and patient person, and she should leave him. She agrees, then goes right back, and when he hurts her again, she comes right back to me asking for advice. Whenever she comes back to me for support, my heart breaks with hers. I can't help feeling invested because I love her, and I'm starting to feel like my emotional labor is wasted because she chooses just to get back with him. Obviously, I know she's attached to him, so it's really not that simple. I went through my own relationship like this that lasted years, and it was exhausting. I'm out now, thank goodness, and I understand it was partially my fault for being in it for so long. I have to be accountable for the fact that I chose to be with him again and again, sometimes accepting his bid to be in my life, sometimes chasing him when he left. Anyways, it feels triggering to me that she brings these things to me because I'm feeling those similar feelings of being in a toxic relationship all over again. On a side note, when I was in that toxic relationship, just for your info, I suffered alone. I know my family would have been there for me, but to be honest, I would just cry in my room and go back to his house just to be hurt again. I want you to know this, so it's not like I'm using her and then leaving her to suffer in her own fate now that I'm out. Anyways, I told her that I can't be her support for these types of things. To be honest, I think it would be better if she went to other women with a similar mindset of hers for support instead of me. She's mad at me right now, and she says that she doesn't want to come to me about anything in her life now. Am I the selfish asshole for setting this boundary? I do love her, I just know my limits. I'm gonna go on a limb here and say that you are probably not the asshole. Again, we don't know the full context of any of these stories, so you just got to take what you read with a grain of salt. However, being in a toxic relationship myself, or previous toxic relationship myself, sometimes it's just hard to let go for whatever reason. Something just draws you in, maybe a little bit of Stockholm syndrome going on with your sister. So I completely understand why your sister keeps going back to the person who mistreats her. I do think it is kind of rude of her to continue to lean on you for support whenever they do get in arguments or fights. She clearly doesn't listen to your advice whatsoever. And the fact that you've already been through this yourself, I think she should really start to listen. But again, relationships don't make people think in the most clear-minded. So I don't think you're an asshole, and it's really going to take some work for your sister to finally leave that guy for good. And I wish you both the best. Alright, this next story is titled AITA for telling a woman to charge a guy more at a yard sale. I was shopping around our city's yard sales yesterday and stopped to look through some clothes. While I was looking, a guy walked up and asked the old lady running the sale if she had anything golf related. My ears perked up because I have recently just gotten into golf. The lady said that her late husband's clubs but didn't know what they would be worth, so she dragged them out to show the guy. It was obvious the guy knew golf by the way he took a couple of practice swings, and you could tell by his car and clothing he appeared to be well off. As he looked around the bag, and the lady was telling him that her husband just passed and that she didn't know that the clubs were worth anything, he says they weren't that great and offered $200 for everything. She seemed hesitant, and she said she didn't know, and he just kind of talked her over and said, "Here, I'll just go grab the money," and walked towards his car. I walked over to see what was in the bag, and for anyone who knows golf, I'll throw this out there. The almost new GT3 driver and 3 wood gently used Mizuno irons, nice Titleist wedges, a very nice looking Scotty putter, great condition Titleist cart bag. Just for reference, I don't really know what that means. I'm not a golfer either, but I'm sure we can look that up and see how much they're worth. This stuff combined would be a steal at $1,000. Obviously, this lady's late husband has spent a good penny on these clubs, and I felt bad for her, so I told her that she should pass on this guy's offers and have someone at a local course pro shop to help her with the price and to sell if she wanted. She seemed totally shocked when I told her that the driver and 3 wood are worth probably $800 alone. When the guy came back, he was glaring at me, and when he tried to hand the lady the cash, she said no thanks and that she was going to get this stuff appraised. He got upset and told her that she can't back out of a deal, so I chimed in and said that they didn't really make a good deal. He got pissed at me and told me I needed to mind my own business. The lady told him that she wasn't interested again and to please leave. He walked to the end of the driveway and just stood there angry like my toddler would. Before he walked away, he called me an asshole and stomped off. The whole thing was more funny to me than anything else. I was telling the story to my coworkers today, and they were all dogging on me, saying I should have kept my mouth shut and let the guy get a good deal. But it felt wrong letting her rip her off. So am I the asshole here? I really don't think that you're the asshole. I don't think the guy was really acting in good faith. Regardless, he clearly knew exactly what these were worth. Not saying that I go to garage sales or yard sales very often, but if I find something that I see is ridiculously undervalued, I'm going to offer more money. I couldn't have that on my conscience, and clearly this guy's already really well off to begin with. So I think the other guy who was trying to buy these clubs in the situation is definitely the a-hole. Your coworkers that were dogging on you, though, about this, I think you can't choose your coworkers, but I really wouldn't hang out with them outside of work. You never know when they're going to try to win one over on you. So people like that I wouldn't necessarily trust. And the fact that this was her late husband's who's recently passed, like that's pretty sad as well. She should get the fair amount of money for it. Like, I'm not going to say she's going to sell it for $800 new. Clearly at a yard sale, you're discounting stuff by quite a lot. But yeah, I'm going to say that you're not the asshole on this one. Am I the asshole for not bringing my daughter's friend home and making her parents come get her? My daughter and I live an hour outside of New York City. Since she was a baby, I've taken there most weekends. As she's gotten older, she occasionally brought friends. They always knew the rules. Bring a bag with things for the train, carry your own stuff, stick together, expect lots of walking, and have fun. Phones are fine, but I encourage screen-free activities. I always speak to parents beforehand, emphasizing the walking. Sometimes we walk 45 minutes or more. For her 12th birthday last weekend, she wanted to go to the city with some friends. Favorite food spots, have dinner, maybe see a show. My mom helped pay for the tickets and joined us. My daughter invited 3 girls, 2 longtime friends who knows the routine, and a new friend, Leia. I called Leia's mom, explained the rules, warned about the walking, and suggested Leia bring something for the train since the signal's bad. Leia's mom said that she was excited. My daughter has also explained the expectations. On the train, Leia only brought her phone, got bored when the signal cut off, and refused to chat or play games with the others and complained. When we arrived, she immediately asked for a cab. My daughter reminded her we walk. As we browsed shops, Leia kept complaining and asking for a cab. I stayed patient, offered her water and snack breaks, and even suggested the subway just to be nice, but she refused when she learned what that was. A few hours in, we stopped for dinner at a place with options for everyone. Leia complained again, and she said that she wanted to go home. I pulled her aside to see if she was sick or upset. She said it was just boring. I told her we'd be there for a few more hours for the show, but she wanted to leave, so she should call her mom. Leia called, and her mom asked me to bring her back. Even if my mom or I left with Leia and the train back after we dropped her off, we had missed the show, and my daughter wanted us both there. I explained that we wouldn't be able to head back until after the show. Leia's mom didn't want to pay for a train ticket or drive. She eventually sent Leia's dad, who picked her up before the show. Leia stayed crabby throughout dinner. Afterwards, Leia's mom trashed us to the other moms, but they backed me up, saying they wouldn't expect me to cut the short trip unless the child was sick or hurt, which I would do. Now Leia's mom won't let her hang out with my daughter. I can't help wondering if I should have just sucked it up and taken her home. Am I the asshole? Clearly, you're not the asshole. Dealing with kids is never easy, especially dealing with somebody else's kid. You don't know how spoiled they are, what rules or expectations that they might break at home. It seems like Leia's parents spoil her quite a lot and haven't really taught her manners. She probably gets everything that she wants. It also sounds like the mom is this way as well, which is where she's learning this behavior from. Talking bad behind your back. Yeah, clearly Leia's mom is teaching her this behavior. It would be one thing if your child was misbehaving and you just didn't know anything about that and you punished her when you got home. But clearly that's not the case since Leia's mom was talking trash about you behind their back. I'm really glad that the other mom stood up for you though. That means you have a pretty good support system. And I understand that it's kind of sad for your daughter not to hang out with her friend anymore. It might be good just to keep those two separate so you don't have to deal with that headache ever again. Say that your daughter ends up hanging out with Leia. Their parents are probably going to bring up something that your daughter did and you're going to be in the wrong. These people, they'll never be in the wrong whatsoever. You can't deal with them. They will never learn. So they're just overall kind of bad people, and I would just try to separate yourself with them. That would be my advice, and you're definitely not the asshole. Am I the asshole for replacing pictures of my cousins with pictures of my dog? My grandpa's birthday was a couple of weeks ago. 6 weeks before his birthday, I texted all my siblings and cousins, there's 9 of us by the way, and told them to send a picture of themselves within the next 4 weeks so I can put it on a phone case for our grandpa's birthday. 2 weeks later, I sent the text again, saying I need a picture of them, and anybody that chooses not to send a picture will be replaced by a picture of my dog. I had 3 cousins tell me to screenshot something from their Instagrams. I didn't respond. I sent a text out the day before and put the order in saying anybody who did not send a picture of themselves in the next 24 hours will be replaced by pictures of my dog. The same 3 cousins never sent pictures. Their spots have my dogs in a sombrero, my dogs at the pumpkin patch, and my dog in a chicken costume. They came over for my grandpa's birthday and saw him open his new phone case. They saw that their pictures weren't on the case and got mad at me for not picking something off their Instagrams like they told me to. I said that I sent 3 reminders to send me a picture with a clear warning that anybody who did not send me a picture would be replaced with a picture of my dog. They knew exactly this would happen. My grandpa finds it hilarious, but their parents are telling my parents that I kept them off the phone case on purpose, and they want me to apologize. Am I the asshole for replacing them with pictures of my dog because they never sent me a picture? My personal opinion is I'm a little torn on this one, right? I understand that you had clear instructions for your siblings and for your cousins. You didn't want to go screenshot something off their Instagram, and I totally understand that. However, you didn't respond when they told you to screenshot off of something from their Instagram. The fact that you sent this in a group with your cousins and your siblings and kept sending the reminders out, they could have been thinking that it wasn't about them. Just not having clear communication on your end and both ends is probably exactly why this situation happened. I'm not going to say that you are the asshole by any means, but I would really recommend communicating directly instead of not responding because they didn't follow exact instructions to sending a picture. They told you to screenshot a picture off their Instagram, and you never said that that was the wrong thing to do. So, I don't think that you're an asshole, but I definitely don't think that your cousins are an asshole either. You low-key kind of seem a little stuck up for being very stubborn. I get it's annoying that somebody didn't follow the exact instructions, but let's be nice and deal with your cousins just for Grandpa's gift, would be my opinion for next time. So, Am I the asshole for telling my brother that the day he was born was the worst day of my life? I haven't read this one yet, by the way, and ooh, that title is a lot to take in already, so I wonder how this one's gonna go. Context: I was born in 1962 in a rural area before ultrasound machines were everywhere. The nearest towns was not close to us, and babies were born at home and delivered by the same midwife. So when I was 7, my mother got pregnant with twins, and she had no idea she was carrying 2 babies. And the midwife, who just delivered the first baby and probably did not realize that there was more to come, had to immediately be driven by my father to another farm where she was needed, which means that when my mother's contractions started again, I was then alone in a farm with her and the first newborn baby. And when it was up to me to deliver my youngest brother, with my mother instructing me, I was hands down the worst and scariest moment of my life because I feared both my mother and the baby wouldn't make it. Well, thankfully, it all worked out. Now, here's what happened. Last weekend, my husband and I were celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary, and we had a party, and people were making speeches and talking about us. When the mic got to my brother, who of course had no firsthand memory of his own birth and only knows what he was told about it, he took the chance to tell the story if it was a fun anecdote. And then my dad got home and they were 2 babies instead of 1. And everyone thought it was fun and sweet, but for me, it was the opposite. It brought back some memories that are not all positive to me. And my mood completely shifted after that. And I think my brother noticed at once because he came to talk to me afterwards and asked if he said something wrong. I told him that this is not a funny story to me and that the day he was born was indeed the worst day of my life and not something I'd like to think back to because it's not a happy moment celebrating my marriage. He went all quiet and said, "Wow, I was trying to honor you, and that's what you thought of my speech?" It was just the circumstances of his birth that made the occasion traumatic for me, and that he should know better than talking about it as a quote-unquote fun fact. If he had put himself in my shoes, but now I think I should have kept quiet and said nothing. Either it bothered me or not. I'm going to go on a limb and say that you are the asshole, and you're low-key kind of overreactive as hell. I understand that it was scary when you were 7 to deliver another baby, but grow up. It's not your brother's fault that he was born a twin. And I think you understand that, but your way that you said that to him was not very nice or good whatsoever. I don't even think he was saying it as a funny thing. Like he said, he was just trying to honor you. He never said it was a funny story by any means. He wouldn't be there if it wasn't for you. So he was really just praising you, which is something that you would do on a wedding anniversary party anyway. I think this one is, I'm not even conflicted about this one. This person is the asshole for sure. And if this is the worst thing that has ever happened in your life, like, let's be real, you were 7 years old. Did you really know that childbirth could kill your mother? Because I did not know that when I was at 7 years old. You know, it could be different. I get you lived in a rural area and you were on a farm. But if that's really the worst thing that has ever happened to you since, you haven't really lived a hard life. So you're the asshole. We can move on to the next one. Okay. Again, have not read this one yet, but I can tell it's about to be juicy. And it might stir up some stuff in the comments as well. So it's titled, "Am I the asshole for showing my girlfriend some criticism of Taylor Swift's latest album after she asked for it?" My girlfriend is a big Taylor Swift fan. Last weekend when we were cuddling, I asked how she liked the latest album. She's been really waiting for it to drop. She said it was good and asked me how I liked it. I said I haven't gotten the chance to really listen to it, but I would listen to it just because some people were flaming it on X, which is formerly Twitter, for those who don't know. She asked me about what I said. I said I wasn't sure, just that I've read it when it came across me. She insisted that she wanted me to see the post, so I just showed them to her. She read it, disagreed with a few of them out loud, tried to explain to me why they were wrong, and I disagreed with her. Last night when we were driving, one of the songs in the latest album came up on her Spotify, and during it she told me that I had, quote, ruined the album and Taylor Swift for her. I thought she was joking, but she was being serious. Am I the asshole for having brought up all the criticism I came across to her? My answer is no. It sounds like your sister just idolizes celebrities, especially Taylor Swift, and thinks that they can do nothing wrong. Of course, what I like might be different than what your girlfriend likes, because to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of Taylor Swift, but nothing against Taylor Swift at all. I just think that her fan base in particular just sees her as a god, and I think that's pretty unhealthy to be idolizing somebody like that. If I'm being honest, I would say you should run. I say you guys should definitely break up. This has red flags written all over it, and she's blaming you for not liking the song or Taylor Swift anymore just because you saw that some negative post about that and showed it to her after she insisted. She's gonna blame you for everything that goes wrong in her life for the rest of your life if you stay together. So my advice would just be to run, and that you're not the asshole. Am I the asshole for not bringing anything to my coworkers' chill hangout and now being called a freeloader? Am I the asshole? So a few weeks ago, one of my coworkers invited me and a few others over to his place to come chill. He said to come over around 2 p.m. and I figured it would be super casual and not a full-on party. I didn't bring any alcohol because I wasn't planning on drinking that early in the day. When I got there, everyone else was having beers, so I accepted one from a coworker and later Venmo'd him for it. Everything seemed fine. We hung out, we talked, and I thought it went well. What I didn't realize is that this chill was actually more of a cookout. He grilled a bunch of meat for everyone, but I didn't eat since I had dinner plans later with my girlfriend. Nobody said anything about this at the time, so I figured it was no big deal. Fast forward now, and he's hosting a Halloween party and told me I should come, but the way he said it was kind of patronizing. He said, quote, "You should really bring something this time. Maybe beer, candy, or chips." I took this as him being a little irritated, so I apologized for not bringing anything before, and I explained that I didn't know it was a cookout. Then I found out through other coworkers that he's been telling people I, quote, never bring anything to parties, and basically calling me a freeloader. Multiple people have mentioned it, so clearly he's been talking. Now I feel awkward about the Halloween party. I don't want to seem like I'm overcompensating by bringing a lot of food and beer, but I also don't want to prove his point. Am I the asshole for not bringing anything to the first hangout? And what should I bring to the Halloween party to make things right? All right, if you actually didn't know that it was a cookout, I'm going to say that you're not the asshole and that it was a misunderstanding. I do think your friend is being a little bit of an asshole, though. And I know you talked about going to this Halloween party. I honestly wouldn't even go. I would kind of separate someone being super passive aggressive and talking behind your back over a simple communication. He might not know that you didn't eat anything at the cookout, and he might have thought that you had plates and you got drinks and whatnot and didn't Venmo anyone. He might think that you're a freeloader because if he's busy grilling meats at the cookout, he might not realize that you didn't actually take anything, or what you did take, you paid your coworker back for. So I definitely would have mentioned that to him. If you do choose to go to this Halloween party, which I honestly wouldn't recommend, I would just bring a case of beer and just call it at that. I don't think you're the asshole, but I definitely don't think you should be going to this Halloween party either. Am I the asshole? 27 male for standing up to my fiance, 27 female, and our relationship by refusing to go on a, quote, family trip that excludes her. I'm a 27 male, and I've been with my fiance, 27 female. My fiance and I have been living together for 3 years, and we're getting married next June. My mom wants to plan a cruise with just her, my dad, my brother, and my sister, and exclude my fiance. I feel like this is a bit ridiculous, given how long we've been together and how integrated she is into our family. My mom framed this as one last family vacation before I get married. But to be honest, I feel like that ship sailed a while ago. I've long since moved out of my childhood family home and started my own life with my fiance. The dynamics have shifted, and I feel like this trip should have been planned before I moved out, not after I've already started my own family unit with my partner. It feels like my mom is trying to recreate a past dynamic that no longer exists, and I'm not comfortable with that. I also feel like I'm more of a family unit with my fiance at this stage in the game than my parents and my siblings. When I mentioned this trip to my fiance, she was understandably hurt, and it felt like my mom was putting me in a position to choose between me or them. I agree with her. My fiance is my main priority now, and I don't want to start our marriage off on the wrong foot by prioritizing my mom's wishes over hers. When I talked to my mom about it, she got highly defensive and said, "Oh, I forgot that when a son gets married, he is expected to pretty much abandon his family of origin and center his life around his fiance/life and do what she wants." She said, "God forbid a man consider his own mom's feelings or that of his birth families for even 2 seconds once he's in a serious relationship. He's accused of being disloyal." Then she asked if this is my fiance's influence, which I found highly insulting, implying that I'm not thinking for myself or that we're not on a team. What really got under my skin is when she said, "I feel like if the genders were reversed and this was a mom asking this of a daughter, it wouldn't be framed as betrayal to her fiance if she went." I feel like this is a pretty sexist comment, and it implies that I'm supposed to be less of a partner or less committed to my fiance just because I'm a man. What's even more surprising is how defensive my mom gets about this. I would have thought she would have been more concerned about my fiance's feelings given how close we all were. Instead, she's prioritizing her own desires over my fiance's feelings, and that's not sitting well with me. I could be the asshole for telling my mom I'm not attending any family functions or vacations where my fiance isn't invited, and this could make me the asshole because I'm not respecting my mom's wishes. I'm going to start this off by saying that you can't choose your family and you can always choose your partner. Your mom's going to still be your mom no matter if she's mad at you or not. Your dad's still going to be your dad. Your siblings are still going to be your siblings. However, you can choose your partner and who you decide to be with for the rest of your life. Since you guys are getting married and families are starting to combine, especially in the near future, and how integrated she is within you and your family's life at this point, your fiance is as much of a daughter to your mom as your sister is. Even though you guys aren't blood, the families are combining. So with that being said, I'm going to say that you're definitely not being an asshole. I don't know why your mom is getting so defensive about not inviting your fiance, but I think that's pretty messed up of your mother. And I'm honestly pretty scared about your future arrangements with your mother as well. And I feel bad for your fiance because she's probably going to have to deal with this, even though nothing is really going to be her fault in the future. Sounds like your mom is going to have it out for your fiance, and that's going to make holidays and vacations very fun. So overall, you're definitely not the asshole. And I would try to set some boundaries with your mom and try to make amends before this stuff gets harder the longer it could go on. Am I the asshole? My neighbor holds on to my Amazon packages. My neighbor frequently receives my Amazon package inadvertently. I've seen photos from the driver showing them delivered to their porch. Anyways, rather than leaving on her porch for me to retrieve them or simply setting it on my porch, she will take them inside and hold on to them for days until I can catch up with them. Then she will act funny about giving it to me. When I finally says, "Hey, when this happens, do you mind just leaving them outside and I will just grab it?" They seem very offended. I understand that this is not her fault for receiving them, but when I receive stuff for another neighbor, I always make sure to set them on their porch or hand it to them immediately. I'm going to go off the bat and say that you are not the asshole in this situation whatsoever. It does suck that your neighbor is receiving your packages. Completely agree how that could be very annoying, and I can see that you can see it from their point of view. However, the fact that she's not even looking at the names and this is a frequent problem and then bringing them inside and not even offering to give them back to you, she's just holding on to them. I think they have ill intentions. They're hoping that you would forget about the package so they can kind of steal it, is my thought process about this. So if they're not willing to work with you on leaving the package outside on their porch or giving it back to you, then I think you're just going to have to suck it up and deal with it. However, you're not the asshole, but it just kind of sucks the situation that you're in. They're not being very good neighbors. All right, this next one is titled, "Am I the asshole for letting my children order full meals instead of kids?" We went to a restaurant for my mother-in-law's birthday lunch. When orders were being taken, sister-in-law announces that all kids would be having kids' meals tenders with fries and juice. My 9-year-old and 4-year-old eat adult meals. 2 chicken tenders and a handful of fries will not fill them up. So when the waiter got to me, I told them that my kids will be having adult meals since I'm the one paying for them. So they ordered their meals, and my sister-in-law was pissed. She said that I embarrassed her and made her kids question her because she told them they were getting, quote, the same thing as all the other kids were eating, unquote. So, am I the asshole? I'm going to say that you're not the asshole in this situation. The reason that I'm saying that is because you can parent your kids any way that you want. By having your kids eat a different meal than your sister-in-law's kids is not affecting her kids in any sort of way. It's not harming her kids. It's not harming your kids. So I don't think there was anything objectively wrong with what you did. I also think that your sister-in-law needs to be able to explain to her kids that life isn't fair and not everyone gets the same exact things. If she can't even do that, then her kids are gonna run rampant all over her when they're growing up and probably become extremely spoiled. It'd be one thing if she was paying for it, but she's not. You're the one paying for your children's meal, so you should let them eat whatever. I will say, though, just be careful about the caloric intake. I don't know exactly what the dynamic is between your kids and their meals today. Definitely feed them healthy. It's okay to have cheat meals or to eat something unhealthy every once in a while. but they're consistently eating adult meals that's probably going over their caloric limit, and you really don't want them to be unhealthy and setting them up for failure for their adult life. Am I the asshole for not saying excuse me to a man blocking the grocery aisle? Ho ho ho, this is going to be a good one. Just before we even kick it off and read this story, I hate when people block the grocery aisle. It is one of my biggest pet peeves. As much as I love Costco and I love shopping at Costco, the people there make me so upset. The lack of self-awareness people have when they enter a grocery store just baffles me. Anyway, I might get a little heated reading this just because it absolutely grinds my gears. Hi, I feel like I'm in the right here, but I've been diagnosed with autism and there has been some social situations in the past where I've come to realize that I indeed was the asshole. So I wanted to get some feedback to make sure my feelings are aligned. Today, I was grabbing a few things at the grocery store. A man was standing with his cart blocking the aisle. I was able to squeeze through, lifting my basket over my head and carefully sidestepping past the cart. I grabbed the item I wanted from the aisle and went past the same way. Since I needed to get to the checkout, I did the same thing. I lifted my basket over my head and squeezed through the tight space left between the cart and the shelves. The man wheeled around me and said, "You could have just said excuse me. I would have moved if you asked." And I said, "Okay," and left to go check out. It's true, I could have said something. I feel like I shouldn't have to ask permission from a fellow shopper to access a grocery aisle. I didn't want to wait for him to move if I could squeeze through with my basket, so I assumed that if he had been concerned enough to move the cart for other shoppers in the first place, he wouldn't have been standing with the cart blocking the aisle. There was plenty of space to move the cart in a way that would have provided more room. I thought if he cared enough to move, he would have done it preemptively. I honestly burst into tears when I got home. It's been a long week, haha, and I'm on my period. I do feel like I didn't do anything wrong, and he was probably just looking for an excuse to yell at someone. But my mind is so scrambled, and the hormones are so low that I'm just wondering if I really am in the wrong. Am I the asshole? Yeah, I'm gonna go and say that you're not the asshole. That guy is definitely the asshole. You're completely right when you said you shouldn't have to ask someone permission to get into a grocery aisle, especially due to the fact that he could have just moved his cart and made plenty of room anyway. This person just lacks a bunch of self-awareness, and it boils my blood when people do that. The only criticism I would give you is, in that situation, I would have done the exact same thing, but I probably would have just told the person, excuse me, when I moved around them, just to kind of give them a little bit of awareness that they're in the way. The fact that he saw you do it the first time and he didn't even move the cart afterwards just means that he didn't even care in the first place. I think that's pretty much going to wrap it up for today's video. I appreciate everyone hanging out with me. I've been feeling a little under the weather recently, so hopefully it doesn't lower the production quality of this video, but still, since I'm starting out, would love any feedback. Please leave it in the comments. I accept any and all feedback, positive and negative, so looking to improve any way that I can, and really appreciate everyone helping me out. I think the next episode I'm probably gonna have to mine more copper. I know it's kind of boring that I'm just mining every single episode, but I need a lot more copper for this build. So, and I know I need to finish the storage room at the other build too, but oh well. We can figure that out when the time comes. But anyway, again, thank you so much. Please leave feedback. Deeply appreciated, and thanks for hanging out.